Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Ashes Community Podcast. My name is BC Giant, and I will be your host for tonight. And my guests today are Shy and Urano5. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Glad to hear. So, a quick reminder about what this podcast actually is. And I know we're having a really bad timing today because the official Ashes stream is going live at the same time. And this is a podcast that is not meant to provide any major information about the game. It's not any way related to anything Intrepid does. Like, I'm not working for Intrepid. I'm not getting paid by Intrepid. This is a podcast meant to put people from the Ashes community into the spotlight. Because let's be honest, the Ashes community is the best gaming community there is out there. And that's pretty much what we're doing. So every 2 weeks, we're taking two members from the community that are well known within their circles, and we're putting them in the spotlight while we're talking about something related to the game. And this week's topic is going to be something that I personally do not have a lot of experience with. It's going to be role playing within video games. I had my experience with some RP going on in the past, like in World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2. But I never really had that much of like experience when it comes to role playing. So that's why I actually took the time and found two awesome members from the Ashes creation community that are in the Ashes role playing community, and asked them to join me today to clarify up a few things, get some perspectives on the game, and yeah. So Shy and Arena 5, we're gonna call you Yura if that's okay.
That's perfect.
All right. I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions, and I hope you guys can help me out and guide my way through this awesome topic. So let's get right into it. So the first topic we're gonna talk about is, why do we roleplay? What experience do we have with role playing? So I'm gonna start us off. I have absolutely. I got two. I had twice the chance to experience some role play, which was way back in World of Warcraft, where I was part of a role playing guild for like a couple weeks that went into Molten Core, and they had speeches, and they had like it was weird, but it was fun. And the other experience I had was in Guild Wars 2 during one of the World versus World fights, server versus servers, and we got sieged, and some guild, instead of defending the gate, started gathering, and everybody was kneeling, and their leader started having this big monologue about the enemies at the gate, which was kind of awkward, but also kind of awesome at the same time. So that's pretty much it for me. So what I want to know now is, because you two are active role players, is why do you two role play, and what experiences do you have with role playing in video games? Shy, why don't you start us off?
Okay, sure. For me, it's primarily I love writing. I've been writing since I was about 12. And for me, it's a creative writing. It's a pre-made fictional universe with rules and lore that I don't have to come up with that. I can take a character out of that and put them into there, and do all sorts of crazy things. Like I can have them fall really, really far and get into really dark, depressing places and then redeem themselves. It's really about storytelling and doing that with other people. One of the things that I like most about it is that it's cooperative. It's multiplayer writing, I guess it would be the best way to put it. And so far as my experience, I mean, I will freely admit that I started out in AOL chat rooms. If there's anybody out there that remembers Right In, I was in there. And then after that, I moved on to MUDs, which are text-based MMOs. That is where EverQuest, their backend was heavily borrowed from some MUD code. And then I've done tabletop, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds. And then really my first foray into MMORP was in Neverwinter, and then really heavily in Neverwinter Online. And then I got really involved in ArcAge with the RP community there. And I'm really hoping that me and the rest of the people that are within the Ashes of Community roleplay group can bring some really rich storytelling to the game to help build, what's already there and add on to it. Because I know that Steven's going to give us a lot to work with. So that's kind of me. What do you, Yura?
Yura, what's your experience and why do you roleplay?
Jesus, started AOL chat rooms too. Hopefully you didn't see me. I was horrible.
Oh my God, were you in there too?
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Super awesome.
Yeah. So also, I think IRP personally because it's fun to create stories, just like you said, cooperative play, and you can't have that just by at least I can't have that just by thinking it up on my own because I don't think I'm that creative. I think that I like using the environment that's around me, and I RP'd for about 9 years on World of Warcraft. Of course, besides my AOL chat room experience, I had a lot of fun on World of Warcraft. I still do. Play with a lot of people. We have a lot of stories, and we like to mesh a lot of characters together.
Okay, so you both have been around for a while. I would assume that's a good statement to make. Let me ask you this now, and this is gonna go into our next topic. And because Ashes of Creation provides a little bit of a different environment than other MMOs, in my perspective. And the main reason for that is that Ashes of Creation, compared to other MMORPGs, Ashes of Creation is an MMO that is always going to change. And the way I look at it is that Ashes compared to other MMOs, let's take World of Warcraft for example. World of Warcraft is a pretty much static world. It's always the same, and you have a stage you can act on as a role player. How do you two, in your professional role player opinion, how do you think role playing will look in Ashes of Creation? But keep in mind that the world is always going to change. Like, how do you think that's gonna look?
You want to take that first, Yura?
Yeah, I gotcha. So Ashes of Creation is going to have just a immense world that you create from the bottom up, and I think that's going to follow to one of your other questions too, in terms of what our peers are going to do in the world. I think it's going to make our peers a lot more active with both PvP and PvE. So you're going to have people who are doing RP combat, romantic roleplay, political roleplay, professions roleplay, and of course the regular chit chat roleplay where you have the person standing on the next to a post within the middle of the city and they're just ranting on and without anybody really paying attention. But you might find it interesting. Who knows? But Ashes, it's got a lot of potential to really put not just the player, like not just the RP base, but it's almost like it could be an outreach to other people to actually RP their players, or RP their characters, because you have to get kind of into the political scene of your server. You have to do combat with other people, and of course, you are going to do combat with other people when you.
I think you cut out.
Yeah, you cut out there.
Where did I cut out at?
Combat with other people.
Okay, so basically, you're going to have people wanting to combat with other people, or even don't want to do combat with other people, but you're going to be forced to do it because the world is pure PvP in terms of outside the city. I don't know if it's going to be even combat in city, of course, with the repercussions they put in place.
All right. So, Shai, what's your opinion? How do you think role playing is gonna look? Because Yura made a point that role players are going to be way more active or have to be way more active because the world changes like every day. Do you think that it might get too much to like really role play like in other games, or do you think it's gonna be an incentive for people to like really actively role play and even increase their participation in role playing communities?
I think that the role players that we have already are going to be more active. One of the things that really drew me to Ashes was the unique, the node system and the open world system, and just kind of the server growing with the players. I feel like that's going to be a really key thing, because we'll be able to tie our stories in with, people that might not necessarily even know that we're doing it. If you've got like the king of the military node or whatever, like you can incorporate that into your stories and reference them, and hopefully that might draw them into it too. I see that as being huge potential for it. And one of the things that I'm really excited for is that, we're going to have all the normal trappings of MMORP. You're going to have Tavern RP. We're probably going to end up having a roleplay village at some point. And within the different, not factions, but like like if there's like a thieves guild or the like different traders, and all of that. I mean, you're going to have guild focused RP. One of the things that we're really trying to do with the unofficial RP forums is to have that be a place where not just RP guilds can come, but where normal players can come and see, okay, well, there's an event on such and such server at this time, and it's open to everybody, so you can show up there, and maybe you don't have any experience, you just want to learn. Like, I think it's going to be a really good way for us to introduce people to roleplay. And I think that the game itself, kind of like what Yura was saying, it definitely is going to encourage that, I think. And people, I think, are going to become attached to their characters a lot more than they would in some other games. And I
Okay.
think that's going to be really fun.
Okay, let me cut you off right there and actually jump to the next point, because here is a sad truth, or not a sad truth. It's more like when I posted the topic for this week's podcast on the official forums and the Discord, some people they're like, yeah, why role play? Nobody role plays, and I think role playing has a bad rep in competitive MMORPGs, for example, in Arcade or in Black Desert Online. And I personally, I kind of have to say that I was in situations where role playing guilds were providing a handicap to our side. For example, the situation I was talking about in Guild Wars 2. So instead of fighting back, they decided to roleplay, which cost us a fort. Or if my brother had an experience, he was going into a raid with a role-playing guild, and they took way too long to fight a boss, or wipe, or just like get going into the raid and whatever. So the next topic is what impact will role playing have in Ashes. So, and here's my point of view. I think because people are gonna be investing in nodes, that whole aspect is gonna be on the positive side. I think people are gonna be like, yeah, there is this node I'm part of, and they have this role playing community, and they're awesome. And I don't want to lose this node because the roleplay people they enhance the experience. But then I also have to think about the PvP side, and how it goes down, and that some role player might be a handicap for your team, because instead of playing in a normal kind of way, or instead of like hurrying, he has to start a monologue or a dialogue or whatever. So what do you guys think, with all that in mind, in the way role playing goes in most MMORPGs? What do you think the impact will be in Ashes? Shai, why don't you start us off?
Right. personally, I think that there is a time and a place for roleplay. And for me personally, if you're in a dungeon and there's other people depending on you, or you're in a raid, that's not the time to do it. Like, you need to be focused on what you're doing in that moment. But I think that you brought up a really good point with the nodes and the roleplay communities there, because if you know nothing else about role players, it's that we love two things: we love our player housing and we love our costumes.
I'm straight.
So if if we're part of a node and there's the chance that we might lose some of that, I think that that's going to motivate people to get out there and be involved with it. I personally, I love PvP. I wasn't the greatest at it in Arcade, but I enjoyed it, and I had people in my guild that really pushed me to become more involved in it. And I've taken that into some of the other games that I've played, and it's become something that I really, really enjoy, and I love that aspect of it. And that's not everybody. You're not. I think it's unrealistic to expect all of the role players to get involved in it. But I think that you're definitely going to see a lot more investment from them into the nodes, and into seeing that their areas that they've built up stay built up. So I think that that's going to be a really positive effect. So far as other stuff, there's I think that we're going to see a lot more people chronicling some of the server events. I know that I think there's a couple of guilds that have mentioned that they want to kind of do that, be lore keepers. And that is, with every server growing differently, I'm super excited to see what people do with that. Even if it's not necessarily roleplay, but if we're getting stuff from the other servers about, this is what's happening over there, like, that's stuff that we can draw into, and bring that into our stuff. And I would love to see, like a community source newspaper come up that reports on what's going on there. I think that that's a really big part that we're going to play, is in keeping people involved and informed on what's actually going on within the server.
All right, Yura, what's your point of view on that whole topic?
I'm actually with Shy all the way on that. It's going to be amazing how people are going to interact with other people, and I want to say force, but let's say, for instance, the king of a certain area or nation node is not a role player. On World of Accord, for World of Warcraft, we have a lot of people who are interested in RP because it's around them, yet they don't want to dive so deep into it just because it kind of gets them kind of rocking their boat. It's kind of weird for them. But at the same time, they've got these accolades. They've got their the top mythic kills. They got the best PvP score that there is to date. And if a lore keeper writes up something for them, it kind of gets the jollies going. It kind of gets them really happy. And they would love to actually deal with the RP community after they, of course, share those accolades.
Okay, so let me jump right next to the next one, because this actually just came up in chat, and it's our next topic, which is, should there be role-playing servers? I know a lot of other games have role-playing servers, and I honestly do not know what I should think, because I can see the benefits and the benefits of having just role-playing servers, but I can also see like the other side of that coin. So as active role players, what do you guys think? Do you want just role-playing servers, or do you guys want to be on servers with everybody else? Yura, what's your opinion on that?
I actually had to do something for this. It's more of a yes and no for me, because as far as I'm concerned, like in World of Warcraft, RP servers are solely made to keep the smallest amount, or lightly mitigate at least, the trolling of RP. That's just what they're kind of made for, because you have PvP servers where the PvP is active, so you have somebody who's doing the scene maybe out in the middle of nowhere, but in their faction's area, so they think they're safe. But then somebody comes, some random rogue stealths out, ganks them, ganks the other party member, and now they're just continuously ganking them because that rogue wants honor points, while those people who are RPing are probably in like little sheep clothing, pretty easy prey, and it sucks mainly for the RPer because it distracts them from what they're actually doing. Uh, Now, needless to say, maybe it will be kind of silly in Ashes of Creation where you have that ability to go out in the wilderness and role play on your own. But you should know that there's going to be a danger lurking because this is a new area, or at least for your character anyway. This should be a new area. It's kind of dangerous. Maybe I should always keep my armor on and keep my wits about me.
Shai, what's your opinion?
I think I'm kind of in agreement with you on that. I really do not want to see a specific server designated for roleplay. My experience has been that role players would tend to congregate on the same server if there's not one designated. I know that happened in Arcade. I know that's happened in
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy as well. And and that's not just the RP community either. There's certain servers that will be PvP heavy because that's where people are going to go that are looking for that. And people that are looking for more PvE or more casual experiences are going to find servers that work better for them and have more of a bent to that. But the biggest thing for me is that segregating the RP community is inherently a bad thing because it breaks people up. And the more people that you have role playing, we have, as time goes on, there's going to be attrition. You're going to lose people just as the game goes. That's a fact of it. So the long-term goal is to keep people active and keep people inside of the community. And so I would like to see an RP server for that, but I would really like to see it be something that the community works towards. And again, like I was saying, with each server being different, I know that I'm going to put a character on as many servers as I can.
So wait. Let me just clarify. You two, as active role players, you do not want a role playing server that is meant for just role playing. You want a server, a normal server that is but mostly colonized by role players.
So you want to go ahead, Shai?
Yeah, I would like to see one that has a majority of the role playing community on it. I think that it would be a disservice to the game and a disservice to Steven's vision for us to completely ignore what's going on other servers. I know that the EU community is probably going to have a pretty large scene as well. But no, I really want to see, because the guild that I'm in is primarily a trading guild. And so I want to have all of those aspects available to me. I want there to be strong PvE guilds, and I want there to be strong PvP guilds, because ultimately I want to get the most out of this game. I know that some of us have put $500, $1,000 into this game, and to completely miss out on some of that, I think would be
some even more.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, but continue.
But yeah, I mean, we're gonna get trolled no matter where we go. That's a fact of life, and if that's not something that you're prepared for, it needs to be something that's in the back of your mind, that's going to happen, and you just need to not let that bother you. If you end up having to, like in the text-based worlds that I've played on, we might just have 5 or 6 rooms in that on that server, and it's like RP room 1, and we're like, okay, well, today this is a bar, and the next day it might be a You know, it might be in the middle of a forest somewhere. So
Okay, gotcha.
just because you're not physically in a location doesn't mean that you can't roleplay being in that location.
So what you guys are pretty much telling me right now, because like I said, I'm a novice, I'm a noob when it comes to role playing.
Right.
It's pretty much you guys could be happy on normal servers. You do not need RP servers, and RP servers would actually make role playing harder than it already is.
I wouldn't say it would make it harder, but at the same time, it would do a disservice both to the game and to the players. You,
Right.
you have to understand that RP is something that somebody just doesn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm thinking about maybe walking around my character and talking to some people. No, you actually see it happening. You're wondering what's going on. And then, of course, during your downtime from PvE, PvP, or whatever, you end up either whispering somebody or jumping right on into the ocean. And it's an outreach program. And in order to do outreach, you have to see it. So
Good.
it needs to be out there.
All right. All right. No, I understand. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that, because I always thought that RP servers are like a paradise for RP players. But now that you're telling me that it's actually harder to like really RP on the game because you get trolled more easily on RP servers, like I get that now. I can understand that. So let me like transition to the next topic. What is something, or what is, no matter what do you guys want in Ashes to like really enhance or improve your RP experience? What is that one thing that you want in Ashes of Creation? Because for me, example, I would assume a personalized title system that you can pick and write your own title, or like you said earlier, enhance and incredible detailed housing systems and like gear systems, the way so you can make yourself look in a certain way. So what do you want? What's the thing that our peers, RP players, role players really want in Ashes?
So I'll say that first off, they need to just make sure that they have a concrete system of lore, of story, because what else do RPers use in their RP? Story. It's kind of cut dry though, and to be honest, I would love just like strict player housing, doing whatever you want, which they're already doing, and that's awesome. It's actually what's lost World of Warcraft. A lot of our peers, people pay monthly subscriptions to go over to Final Fantasy just strictly because of player housing. You get that separate little identity for your RP, and you get to concentrate on whatever story you want to breed. That's amazing, but at the same time, you don't get that open until you have a concrete lore system installed into the game. So I want that, and ability for add-ons, because TRP, MRP, and XRP for World of Warcraft were basically essential in just knowing who was our peer, looking at the profile, seeing what they wrote about the character, and you get an interest in actually RPing with somebody. That's how most, at least aged RPers I see the World of Warcraft operate.
Let me interrupt you there real quick, because we already know that the guys from Intrepid, they have a strong stand against add-ons. So how do you feel about that? Because they said there won't be any, like second party or third party software allowed in the game, that they won't have DPS meters or aggro meters or anything in that nature. So as a role player, and I know the add-ons you're talking about, I looked into those. I know what they are. How do you feel about that? About them not being allowed in a game like Ashes, or in Ashes by itself? How do you feel about that?
I'm personally fine with it. Like I've never had that before. Like I said, I mean, I've been, and I'm still a part of text-based games where I don't have that graphic stuff. Like it's me, my imagination, and what I can write, and the other people that I can bounce those things off of. so far as like what I'm looking for, I want a large chat buffer. You know, the 120, 200 character or 200 words is not going to cut it for me. I want to be able to put 2 solid paragraphs in there, because it really that's a creature comfort that I'd like to see. And a laying down emote, like that's I haven't had one in any game that I've played. There's no emote that lets you lay down. It's small things like that. Yeah, there wasn't any in Neverwinter, and there wasn't any in Arcade, and there wasn't any in Fallen Earth. It was frustrating. Because, you know, maybe I just want to have my character laying down. I don't know. You know, but it's just, it's not there. And sometimes I need that. But I think that, you know, having a rich selection of poses for like sitting or whatever, and the chat buffer, those are the 2 things that would really make a difference to me. Everything that I've seen that they've been saying so far has been great, you know, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over not having some sort of overlay on my computer. I mean, like, give me Notepad and, you know, somebody's email address, and I can role play, and I can be happy.
Well, I get your points, and I always thought that as a role player, you need at least to have the ability to make a character look in a certain way, because I don't know, if you wanna play, for example, if you wanna play a broke knight that doesn't have any money, you cannot look like somebody who just cleared, I don't know, an Exramus from World of Warcraft with all the. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to actually build onto that, because with Shy, if you have the big text option, which World of Warcraft doesn't have unless you have the add-on, you can actually describe what you look like to people just on the spot. It's really nice. Of course, I was going to say World of Warcraft doesn't have that, and World of Warcraft doesn't have a number of things besides, of course, the laying down emotes and stuff like that, which kind of cater to players. It caters to just the look of things, and we actually even use that in our RP combat system, where if you want to do a PvP style thing where you have a duel with somebody, of course, this is for honor. This is not for like giggles or anything like that. And you lose the duel, the player uses the lay down emote. Of course, when you lay down, in World of Warcraft, you get automatic crits and automatic backstabs on the target. So the player can then actually almost kill the other player. So you kind of have like that little system just to cater to the RP.
Handling it. Yeah, I like that. It's a neat way of handling it.
Let me ask you another question. Because like I said, I'm not a role player. I have no idea really what goes into it. I maybe scratched the surface of what you 2 are doing. So, and I assume when it comes to role playing in Ashes that you 2 had a better eye on like catching up on certain things they said, maybe some that they confirmed. So, do you think they will provide a good enough platform or a good enough game environment for people like you 2 to actively roleplay and actually have fun? Or do you think it's gonna be like Shy? You say you don't need any add-ons. You need Word and an email address. And Yura, you said you need certain add-ons, whatever. Do you think that they will give you stuff and provide you with a gaming environment that lets you like actively and decently roleplay without, you know, having to worry about too many other things?
Yeah, I you know, Steven has said before that he's played, you know, 3.5 in Pathfinder. He knows what role playing is. And so I fully trust him and the development team to build a rich environment for us to role play in. You know, I have full faith in them to be able to deliver that to me.
Yura?
I would have put down my Kickstarter if I didn't think that the idea already was given the ability to actually RP in a successful environment. It's really nice.
I gotcha. All right, so that's because I think you guys already answered mostly the next topic, but let's go into it anyways. What are tools you need to be a good role player? Like, what are the main tools you need to actually be a good role player And can you like somehow like put it into like Ash's aspect, into the Ash's aspect?
I think that it's within all gaming aspects, and maybe even aspect of life, that to be a good role player, you need tolerance, tact, and team building. All those things, if you have those, you can be not just a successful role player, but a successful player, and of course, person in life. For tolerance, you need to have a heavy heart for people who are just beginning because their English might not be up to par. You have some people who write maybe college essays or theses and novels, and they're just amazing, or they just propose everything and just like, what's this word, and what's this word, and you're just annoyed. But at the same time, you need to be tolerant and maybe whisper them and tell them, hey, this is not what you need. Sorry, just got a Discord call. Tact, you need to make sure you know what you're saying and mean what you're saying if you want to be successful as well. Don't say anything out of bounds. Make sure you watch what words you're using at first and see if maybe it is a colorful audience. You can use curse words or whatever. And then, of course, team building. This is collaboration. You need to actually work with the other person. So when I say whisper, if you have a good RP with somebody, whisper and say great RP. If you have a bad RP with somebody, then you just whisper and say, thank you for the RP. Sorry, my character didn't get along, or I didn't really follow with it, but maybe next time, if there is a next time.
Shai, what do you need to be a good role player?
I pretty much agree with everything Yura said. Like I think that those are really good points, and you did it really succinctly. For me, I think that I'd want to maybe let people know some of the more technical things. A thesaurus and dictionary will get you so far. And really just a desire and a willingness to learn how to write. If if you come into a roleplay guild or just any roleplay and everybody can tell that you want to be involved, like that's going to go a long way to them helping you learn how to, react in a collaborative environment. Because, in essence, what we're doing is improv writing on the fly in real time. And that can be really daunting, especially if you get 5 or 6 people all role playing in the same scene. It's still daunting for me in large groups. But, really just be able to communicate effectively. Me personally, I don't care if your spelling is bad. I don't care if your grammar is bad, but be able to convey your ideas to me effectively so that I know what you are trying to do with your character. The other thing too is have a good sense of what's in character and what's out of character. And I don't know that that's been brought up, and I think that's a pretty basic thing that maybe some people don't know about. But for me, when I'm writing, when I'm role playing, that's stuff that's happening in character. For me, nothing if I don't write it, it hasn't happened to my character. And I think the Ashes is going to be kind of a challenge for me because I am going to want to integrate the stuff that I'm doing out in the world, the stuff that I'm doing with my guild and trade caravans. Like, I'm going to want to draw on that. And so I think that's, and I'm not saying that I won't, but I think that as a player, you need to be cognizant of, again, like I said, when is a good time to be role playing and when is not. And really, Yura touched on it too. Like, just be tolerant of people. Like, that's one of the things that I love about role-playing communities is that everybody is, for the most part, gets along. There's going to be drama. There's always drama. But so long as you're willing to work with people to help them build their characters, then you'll get that back and they'll help you build your character. If you've got... Yeah. Anyways, I'll shut up and let you go on.
No.
I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah,
hours.
That's fine. But you know what? Let's do the following. Let's jump back to which topic was it? Let's jump back to what do our peers want in Ashes? Because now we're gonna challenge both of you. I want both of you to tell me in one line, in one sentence, what is what is like a core thing you want in Ashes in regards to roleplay? Like one thing you really want, because I'm hearing a lot of, you guys are really passionate about it, and I admire that, because I wish I could be that passionate about like half the stuff that I do. So, for example, if you would ask me now, what do I want for breakfast? I could tell you straight up, I want bacon. Because I want bacon for breakfast, there's like no doubt about it. So, because I'm passionate about bacon. So tell me, like, what is in one line, in one sentence, what, Shy and Yura, what do you want in Ashes as a role player? What do you need? What do you need as a role player in Ashes? Shy, you go first.
I need people that want to roleplay with me. I mean, that's it. Give me people that I can roleplay with, and we'll make it work.
Okay, you're up. What do you need in Ashes?
It's and tie with the same thing. Outreach. It's every time I see
you say outreach, so
right?
So you would, with outreach, you mean a way to like really connect to other role players, to reach them. So maybe even an extra chat option just for role players.
Well, that
Yes.
too, and just
Yes, please.
the pure right. That just the pure the essence of somebody saying, "Huh, that looks really fun. I might want to do that."
So
because go ahead.
If I'm Steven and I would put in, you got zone chat, city chat, node chat, group chat, instant chat, you got proximity chat, you got a whisper, and then you would have another chat option for just role players. Would that make you happy, both of you?
Yeah, I would love that. I would love for us to be able to create our own channels. That's something that Neverwinter Online had that was just amazing. But yeah, I mean, even if it was just a straight roleplay channel, I would love that.
All right.
Yeah, I actually never thought about that. That's actually really nice because you could just have the separate areas.
But wouldn't that also allow people to like troll?
Yeah.
Everything allows people to troll.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing: if we didn't have an RP channel, then we'd be using Zone Chat or whatever to be like, okay, who wants to roleplay or something.
So let me.
It's a non-issue.
All right. Let me put you in a situation. It's a zone. That zone has a metropolis, and that metropolis has the option to put up different chat channels. If that metropolis would put up a moderated role-playing channel for that metropolis, where you have hundreds and hundreds of people in that metropolis, and you also have an active role-playing community, and you got your own channel, and that channel is moderated, you guys should be happy, right? You guys should be freaking out. You'd be like, oh, hell yeah, this is the best thing ever.
That would be interesting, but at the same time, to make it Metropolis level, that's going to take a while, isn't it?
No, I think that if they have like a node chat, they could basically clone that and slap roleplay chat on there, or node roleplay chat. I think the biggest obstacle with that would be who's going to moderate it. I'm personally not a fan of that. If people want to jump on there and troll, that's fine. I can ignore them. I'm very good at ignoring people that, I don't care about.
That's a practice that a lot of people, RPers need to learn too.
Yeah, but I mean, like, okay, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, my skin is thick.
All right, you see, like that already tells me I would be horrible at role-playing because I cannot ignore people. Like, part of my job is not to ignore people. So I think I would do a horrible job as a role player. But I think from what I can tell, because Steven himself is a role player and he played Dungeons and Dragons and everything, I think he will like really give you tools and an environment where you can really flourish as a role player. So let's jump to the last topic, and we can talk about this topic for like the next 15 minutes, no problem. Because I don't think there is a right answer for this one, but what's the number one rule for role-playing players? Who wants to take it? Who wants to go first?
I'll take that.
All you.
Be willing to adapt. Like that's really the biggest thing. Like if you can't be in a certain situation and adapt to it, like if there's suddenly 6 people and then 12 people show up that are all wanting to roleplay and you're not ready for that, like know how you're going to get your character out of that. Know how you're going to exit the scene or how you're going to deal with that. You know, if trolls show up, like we had on Arcade, we had a troll guild show up to a Valentine's Day function that we had, and we ended up having a lot of fun with them, you know, because they were there to role play as they thought that they were, you know, in their own way. And you know, we were like, well, we can either have a lot of drama or we can play with them and have fun. And you know, so just don't take things seriously and be willing to adapt to whatever situation comes up.
Isn't that the great thing? Because like they just came in there and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's troll these guys. Oh, it looks like they're doing something fun. Let's try to, you know, we'll go down and we'll RP with them a little bit. You know, we'll say that my character's doing this and wall it out, and let's see what they do." And then of course you have your character, and they're saying, "You know what? That's actually pretty funny. Let's see if my character would do that, or what happens if my character actually does this." And you do that, and you have an interactive experience that is both lighthearted, fun, and exciting. Being adaptive is by far the best thing you can do
So
as a role player.
if somebody isn't adaptive, because I'm not adaptive, I'm thick-headed. I cannot ignore people. What would be another rule that I should like follow to, you know, try like to enjoy role playing?
That's a good question.
Right?
Gosh, I'm gonna have to think about that. Why don't you go first, Yura?
So with the player housing, you have your own secluded area. So I am 100% both. I guess I want to say IC Lee or in character wise and OOC Lee out of character wise against isolation. But if you need to isolate yourself for a certain scene, you do it. It's some things that you want to do. I know that there's a group of our peers that I used to RP with on my old server that really love to have a node story, a node driven basis or motor that kept them going in a straight line, and anything that deterred them from it, they'll just put them on, ignore, and ditch them. It was so sad, but at the same time, the story was so engaging because it's almost like a Game of Thrones episode, but you knew what people were going to do, at least in some aspect. The leaders at least knew. So you have that, and if you need to have an isolated RP, then you have to take leadership of your own actions and isolate your RP. So maybe taking leadership of your own actions is probably the key thing for that.
Leadership of my own actions. So like I mean if I think back in games like Wild Cell, Black Desert Online, or Arcade, where you can create your own house whenever, and I always spend a lot of time in character creations or in customizing my house, whatever. So I do that quite a lot, and I would say I'm pretty good at it. So would that already count as role playing to some degree? Because if I play an MMORPG, I always have a backstory for my character. Like I don't have it written down, or I don't have it, you know, like out loud. I just have it in the back of my head. If I would start writing that down and actually letting other people share this with me, that would be considered role playing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really like what you're going to need to really bring your character out, is to develop your character in your head. You know, when I'm making a character, I will give them an entire backstory, you know, and I may not put details in there. I let the roleplay kind of dictate some of those details, because I'll be like, oh, it would be really cool if she had done this in her background, and I'll leave a little bit of that open. But having, you know, I think that communication is really key, because if you know, like you were saying, if you can't be adaptive, at least be communicative. and tell the people that you're role playing with, you know, hey, I'm not really comfortable in this situation. Can we do something else? Or, you know, can we try something else? Or, you know, just something like that. Like it's like with anything else, you know, be communicative with the people that you're involved with, and that's going to go miles.
All right, gotcha. So I think we're done with all the topics. Unless you guys have anything you want to talk about, I would open up the stream to the chat, and if the chat has any more questions, we can actually answer them now. Because here's the thing, and I find this always experience. That's why I don't like. I know a lot of people that talk shit about role player, and the thing that I always say, and this is always the argument that I have, is hey, they're playing a game that you're playing, but they're having a more interesting way to play it than what you're doing, because you're just playing what the game gives you, but role players, they add on top of that. And I always take that argument to actually defend role players. Because I like I said, I never really role played. I had a couple bad experiences, a couple good ones, but they were always sort of fun. Because I remember having a molten core raid, and our raid leader was a dwarf, and he talked like a dwarf. He's like like a drunk dwarf, which I thought was funny because I was still like young. So
That's cute.
Isn't that's right, because you guys add to the experience the game gives you, and I think that's something that more people should do. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody should write as much as possible, but that's because I love writing. You know, I mean, it's really enriched my life, and I think that, you know, the more people that read and the more people that write, you know, that's a good thing.
All right, we got a question. Just hold on 1 second. We got a question from the chat. How likely do you think a community-made RP server is? Such a server that the RP community is designated as the unofficial server for RP? I think that's Moose. I think that's bound to happen. I think you're gonna have several servers that are hardcore, that where most of the PvP players are gonna be. You're gonna have servers where most of the PvE people are gonna be, and you're gonna have one server or two maybe where most of the role-playing people are gonna be. I think unofficial servers for any like game genre is a PvP, PvE, or RP. I think those scenarios, in my opinion, I think they're really likely. What do you guys think? We just talked about it, and I think you guys said.
We did. Yeah, I mean, I think that's there's definitely going to be that that striation between the different, you know, the PvP, PvE, PvX, and RP focused people. You know, one of the things that we're really hoping to do when Halgrave, Maven, Corvidae, and I got the unofficial roleplay forum together, it was our goal for us to be able to have that central repository so we can coordinate with all the different RP guilds and be like, hey, you know, this is what server we're thinking of. What do you guys think? So that we can have that as kind of a base. And maybe not everybody goes to that same server, but if everybody knows kind of, okay, this is a server where most of the role players are going to be, you know, then they can roll a character up over there and they can come and check it out without maybe some of that stigma that they would get on a PvP server. So I definitely think that that's a possibility, and I think that it will definitely happen. You know, if not one, then maybe two, and, you know, I would love to see 3, you know, really solid role play servers.
3.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yeah. For the logistics of it, like how I see it is, there's always going to be 2. There's going to be one that was the main that started it all, and there's going to be the second where people diverge into, because either there was maybe drama, they didn't like what happened on another server, they want to start something new and fresh, and you know, you want a fresh, clean slate. You don't get that on most RP servers, and the fresh, clean slate is something that a lot of guilds like to thrive on. It's an easy idea. It's an easy idea concept where it's just you guys, and it's nice. Of course, there's going to be more people coming to that server. It's going to be flourishing. The RP is going to be beautiful, but that's usually what happens. At least from what I've seen from both games of World of Warcraft for Moonguard and Regressive Chord, and then for Final Fantasy with Balrog and some one other server I forgot the name of because I sadly don't play it. I just hear by ear what people are doing.
All right. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
so go ahead, Shai.
I was just going to say, excuse me, that I think the EU community is probably going to have a better chance of seeing a better distribution, just because, you know, like the French role players might want their own like little community, and the German role players might want their own community. I know that there was somebody that was really looking to get a German roleplay community set up, and you know, I would love to be able to help them out, you know, as much as I can. And I think that we talked a little bit about trying to get them integrated, and I'm not sure whatever happened with that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something that we'll be seeing a lot more of.
All right,
Hope that comes up in a year's time.
We got another question from chat. Let me read this out loud. Due to each world having different stories post server start, do you think the world would be a place for lore keeper nodes? Essentially a node that is run by guild group that has a detailed history of the world from Game of Thrones, but a community set of. Oh yeah. So what he's asking is do we think, you two as role players and me as a normal pleb, do we think that because the stories, the story of the server is gonna be different for each one? So do you think each server is gonna start having people taking down the history of the server, like he says, as a lore keeper? And do those lore keepers even gonna have their own node? So I think that's pretty likely. I think if you have a server that runs really well and has a lot of active communities, and you know those communities, they might be fighting each other, but they can agree on, hey, this fight was awesome, we should take down, you know, somebody should record this. There should be some video footage, so maybe some written notes. I think that is likely, and I think those kind of roles, they would fall to the lore keepers because their practice in writing down, you know, you guys know how to write. Let's be honest. So I think there's a really good possibility that we're gonna have lore keeper nodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on it a little bit, that there is, I want to say there's one, maybe two guilds that I know of that are actively looking to try and do that, or at least make it a part of their guild focus. I don't know that they would run the node, because I feel like role playing takes a lot of time out of your game time, you know, and so I think the people that are running nodes are going to be the ones that are devoting most of their time into that specific activity, either PvP or trade, or, you know, crafting for science, you know, and things like that. I think that those people are going to be the ones that are running it, but I can definitely see lore keeper guilds finding a node that works for them and staying within that and maybe making that their base. I definitely see that as a possibility, yes.
Yura, what do you think? Is it gonna happen?
Yeah, we already have a Warcraft people who try to do newspapers or newspaper guilds, which is really entertaining. It's lovely, nice, gives that kind of essence. And you can give the newspaper to somebody, just some random person, and they're like, oh, is this what's going on in the server this week? Wow, that's awesome.
Yes.
And with that, I hope that what will get my jollies and like unbelievable, outstanding happiness is if you have, let's say, a PB guild that's like really good at what they do. Maybe they have a couple RPers, maybe they don't. It's okay. They bring on, just, you know, let follow or tell what happened with one person from a lore keeper guild. They just bring that person on and show them the adventure, show them what's going on, or tell them what's going on even. That would be astounding because you have that collaboration.
I think because of the way the game is set, I think you're gonna have somebody writing down the history of the server, because all the servers are gonna be different. So there is somebody who's gonna be like, I'm gonna write this down. If it's just, you know, in a couple of words, if it's an entire book, I think those chances are pretty big.
Yeah, they just need to make sure the guild that needs to make sure that they actually bring the person. Because from what I'm thinking of anyway, I'm not sure, and
Yeah.
who
Yeah, I
knows?
mean, if it's like an 8-man dungeon, 7 people can definitely carry one
Yeah.
through it that maybe might not be as geared. But I would love to see that. That was kind of my job when I was in the army. I did combat photography and videography. So, I would go out and embed with the infantry and document what they did. And I loved it. And I would love to see somebody do that in a role play kind of setting. Especially if we had guilds that would be willing to take them on and do that, And I
Right.
think that part of that too is that if that was posted on the forums and things like that, then I think that you would see more people on other servers doing that as well. And then that gets all of the stories from those servers out there for the entire community, which I think is one of Steven's goals.
I
It
think
is.
I think we're gonna have that because I remember I used to run in PlanetSide 2. I used to run one of the biggest outfits on the server, and we had 3 guys that just went with us everywhere we went, and they just recorded everything. And yeah, so I think it's a really good chance that that will happen. And I just want to read one comment from chat from Moosney10. Thank you guys so much for the podcast and the insight of your great guests. So on that note, I want to also say thank you too for, putting me into the role of, being a role player and actually teaching me a couple things and, letting me have a look at how things actually go as a role player. And I wanna thank everybody who joined in during the Ashes live stream at the same time. I wanna say thank you. We really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back 2 weeks. We are doing this every 2 weeks, and I want to thank you two again, Shai, Yura. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I mean, this has been amazing. I think this is the first time anybody's really reached out to role players to try and do something like this, at least since I've been doing stuff. So thank you for the opportunity to let us come out and kind of talk about what we do in a more serious setting that's not, getting inundated with trolls trying to argue with us. So thank you.
Don't worry. I gotta do it again because, like I said, I don't roleplay. I'm being honest, but I don't think bad of role players because I think you guys are having way more fun than any other player has. So yeah, I'm gonna have you guys back because I really like this. It gave me a lot of insight, and I think a lot of our viewers, they also get a lot of insight into how role playing actually goes down in games like this. So yeah, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us. That would that makes me really happy that you actually want to outreach and help us out.
Don't worry, I will do it again. I'm gonna drag you on the podcast again. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my 2 guests. And I talk to everybody in 2 weeks. Have a good night, a good morning, a good afternoon, and stay safe. Bye, guys. This is the part where you say bye to the viewers.
Oh, goodbye, viewers. Y'all have a good weekend. And for those of you in America, have a good Labor Day weekend.
I'll miss you, viewers. Bye.